Okay, my outstanding friends, things are starting to get a little clearer in an insane sort of way. What are we looking at here? That's a blood vessel. And where is that blood vessel? It's in an iron meteorite. Well, where do meteorites come from? They come out of space. So, as far as I'm concerned, there is a ton of life in space, and I can prove this without any doubt whatsoever. I have 3 meteorites right here, the little tiny iron meteorites. The smaller they are, the less they burn off, and the more biology you can see, because these are nothing more. These 2 are lungs, and that's a fingertip. I'm not kidding you. When I can show you this, and you can't be denied. Now, and they can be DNA tested, because I put catalase or hydrogen peroxide in these, and this one here foamed up just like it had raw blood leaking out of it. Absolutely amazing. Now, so you can see we got 3 little iron meteorites. You bring them close to each other, and the magnets will actually interfere with each other. Well, see, boom, they pull it. Anyway, these 3 are all magnetic, and they are all iron meteorites, and I can show you they all have biology in them. These 2 here, look at this. They are literally identical. Literally identical. You see that? This is just a smaller version of this one. All right, there's the looking at it from this way. Here's the other side. And here's the back. And they both have this little latch in the back, which is what holds them in position in the body, so they don't go flying, drifting off, and going up and down. Now, they both have the alveoli, and they both have blood in them. They both still have blood in them. I mean, they're absolutely, virtually identical. And like I say, this one here is just a catalase, just foamed up like crazy. So, where is this blood vessel from? We can see it's a little blood vessel. Well, let's see if we can see where that came from. Like I said, these are iron meteorites I just showed you. Well, that one came from an iron meteorite too, only it was a little bit bigger. It was that one right there. That's the Willamette meteorite. Now look, see right down there? That's where it is, right there. That's where that blood vessel is. Very, very obvious, very... and I can tell you right now, they should be able to get DNA out of that. Now that's on display. So somebody should be able to take a look at it and see if I'm right or wrong. Okay, my friends, I'm going to make this short and sweet. They want to know if there is biology in space, if we're alone in space. No, we're not. And there are giant creatures in space. And this is a lung that came through space and smelted. And that right there is a blood vessel. If you look at it carefully, which I have, it is a blood vessel. And I have a lung here that I can show you the same exact thing. Not only can I show you that exact same structure, this is a terrestrial one. I'll show you the same thing that's happening here. Is that you can see the hole going into these big cavities. They have a blood vessel. I'll show you this in the microscope. And then I'm going to show you ones that actually are meteorites. They came through space. Iron meteorites, but they're tiny. And they didn't cook off like that one did. I have 2 of them here, the same thing. But I can show you this exact same hole in there. They're exactly the same, and here's the other one exactly the same as this one. You see that? There's no difference whatsoever between the 2 of them. Look at this here, and this is here. Look at the hook, look at the hook, look at this, look at that. It's even got the latch on the back. That little latch right there, it's got the same little latch on this one. That's the back of them. There's the bottom of them. You see them? And they both have the same fabric on them as the other one. You see over here, over here. I could show you inside these things. They have the same plumbing. They have the same structure. They just one's bigger than the other, but they both came through space. They're both magnetic, and I can show you in the microscope, which I will, the same kind of blood vessels. All right, right there is the lung that's in the microscope. And that's the hole down in the alveoli. They go down inside and they pass air through all these things. Now, you see how this is cooked off and this is cooked off, but you still have some of the fabric in here. They just had a big article how they found these, they just found these brand new fabric minerals never seen before in history. 2 brand new ones, maybe 3. And then they show exact same thing I'm showing you, an iron meteorite. And that's where it came from. And they know they came from an iron meteorite, but they just don't know that they're all from biology. All right, here's the little bitty one. I have 2 iron meteorites that are lungs. The bigger one, which is not big, it's very small. This one is about half the size of the bigger one. That is the blood vessel right there. I'll bet you I'll get catalase reaction out of that. You know, I bet you the catalase is still reactive in there. And I'm going to put some hydrogen peroxide in there and we'll see. So I'm going to put it in and then we'll take a look. Okay, I believe I showed you the big Willamette meteorite, a big iron one. It has a little tiny hole in there with the red blood around it inside of an alveoli. Well, this is one I have here in my shop. Now, what I want to show you is I'm going to put a little catalase in there. Take a cotton swab and swab that catalase into these little alveoli. And what happens is I'm putting in hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide will react with blood enzymes, but only if they're biological. And look at what happened. Look at what happened. They just went off the charts. Look at the bubbling reaction there. Absolutely incredible and instantaneous. That is as good as if you put it on raw blood. And the reason you get all these bubbles is because they are releasing extra oxygens in the hydrogen peroxide. That's the job of catalase. It's an enzyme created by bacteria to save you from reactive oxygen species. Now these little lines in here, that's because of the display and the lighting here. They make these lines every now and then. Don't worry about those. This is the bubbling effect inside one of these alveoli. That's just incredible. Okay, I believe I showed you the big Willamette meteorite, a big iron one. It has a little tiny hole in there with the red blood around it inside of an alveoli. Well, this is one I have here in my shop. Now, what I want to show you is I'm going to put a little catalase in there. Take a cotton swab and swab that catalase into these little alveoli. And what happens is I'm putting in hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide will react with blood enzymes, but only if they're biological. And look at what happened. Look at what happened. They just went off the charts. Look at the bubbling reaction there. Absolutely incredible and instantaneous. That is as good as if you put it on raw blood. And the reason you get all these bubbles is because they are releasing extra oxygens in the hydrogen peroxide. That's the job of catalase. It's an enzyme created by bacteria to save you from reactive oxygen species. Now these little lines in here, that's because of the display and the lighting here. They make these lines every now and then. Don't worry about those. This is the bubbling effect inside one of these alveoli. That's just incredible. Alright, this is going to be a little hard for you to figure out, but I understand it quite well. This is the black side of a fingertip. The blood is coming in. The other side here is the red side. You see the red blood coming down? Right there? That's the tip. And here is where the red blood is. It's pretty obvious that's pretty red. Alright, you see it? And that's where the red blood comes in. Now, it's boiled off almost all the way down. The black side is here. It's pretty damn black. You see it? Now, what is this? This is the tip right here. I'm going to have to lay it down and let it settle in for a second. I'll try to point these things out. Alright, now, let me home in on this. Alright, now. here's what we got. The tip is at the front, way out there. That's the very tip of your fingertip. Now, all of this area here was from the finger, and it all boiled off down to basically this is where the bone is inside here. And but the fleshy stuff is burnt off. This is, I believe this is the artery. This is the red side. That's the artery where it comes down. This is the black side where it's the vein. Now, where do you see this? And I'm not kidding you. It's got fingerprints. I'm not kidding you. I don't know how it happened. But this is a meteorite. It came through space and it cooked off just a certain way, and it looked like this bottom side was facing down as it came through, and it took like a flight path almost. Now watch, this is the other side, which is the bottom of your finger. This is, see the top? That's the top right up there. Here's the bottom. Now where do you see this? Well, first of all, you see in the back here, an anatomist would understand these. These two balls right here are the little balls in the back of your finger. If you take your fingertip and you feel, you're going to feel there's two little round balls here. And that's where they are. Now, again, that's the blood coming out, the red side. This is the vein side. Now, this is literally, and I'm not kidding you, that is fingerprints. All right, let's see if we can get a good shot at that. That's the skin from his finger. Now, I'm going to move down here, and I'm going to get a nice clean shot of that. Hold on. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but somehow this one little patch of skin, and it is skin, I'll be able to bring it down and show it to you. These are literally the sweat pores that were in that skin groove. Now they've burnt off, I mean everything burnt up a lot, obviously. Now I'm going to bring the light over. I'm going to do a whole different shot of this, but you're going to see that skin is skin amongst everything else that's burnt off. You see the ridges in the skin? It has the sweat pores and everything. Now, let me get a different shot of this. Hold on. Okay, this is about the best shot I'm going to be able to get of it. These are the skin ridges, and these little dots are the sweat pores. Let me show you what it looks like in the anatomical version of a description of grip skin. But that is the skin that was right in that one little divot there. Somehow it was preserved. I don't know how. You see it? It is right there. And that's that little fingertip. Tiny little thing. And the thing is, the smaller they are, the less they burn. It cooked up, but it didn't cook up like something terrible. Okay, don't forget, we're talking about giant meteorites or little tiny meteorites. They still have blood. And this is a little tiny one. This is that fingertip. This is what's called an apical tuft. And all of these balls lock in there, and then you have tendons that run down and allow you to do this and that with your fingertips. These are the balls that lock in. I have an apical tuft here. I'll show it to you. But this is that little tiny finger. And that's the tip of it, and it comes down and of course into the body of the thing. And it's all burnt up, but there's spots where there's blood, and you can see a little blood vessel there running down inside. A lot of blood in fingers, a ton of blood. Right. Blood is the preservative. That's why iron meteorites they're preserved. They're iron meteorites, but they were lungs and hearts and livers where they have the most concentration of blood. And the fingertips are absolutely flush with blood. You want to see what a finger, where do you see how much fingers have blood in them? Absolutely incredible. Alright, check this out. This is how much blood is in the fingers. I mean, they're just saturated. One of them comes in as the artery, and the vein pulls the blood back. And in here, they're just soaked with blood. This is a tiny little fingertip. It's gone into crystalline. But that's the blood literally running out of the artery. And it congealed and it turns into crystals. That's what bodily fluids are, crystals. That's why you get crystals from all of the transition metals and so forth that are in the bodily fluids. Now I'll put this in a microscope and you'll be able to see. But you see all This is grip skin. That stuff there, that little fibrous looking stuff, that's what's in your grip skin. I don't know if you can see that or not. We'll put it in a microscope and take a look. But that's where the blood comes out of a tip. And I have a lot of them that did that. They blow the blood right out of the tip. That's a little tiny thing. It's about the same size as mine. Not much difference. All of these creatures were living here at the same time. Because this one here is an apical tuft. Remember I told you about that little tiny fingertip here? It has that little apical tuft at the end. This is the apical tuft. And that was from a giant. And that was DNA tested. The fingers, the whole. I have the whole hand that came from this apical tuft. I have fingers and knuckles, and I have the whole palm and everything. Very well. It's 4 feet wide. All right, this is the palm, and if you hold your palm back like that, you're going to find a tendon running down here. This is where you go to your little finger. It goes this way. The thumb runs this way. This little cleave is right there in between the two pads. And this is the grip skin. See the silver part? That's the grip skin. Now this apical tuft came from a finger that a lot of them eroded a lot, and some of them are like brand new. But this was from an extremely eroded fingertip, and that's the apical tuft. Alright, I'm talking about the apical tuft. There it is right there. You see all those little tiny balls, those holes? There's balls that go into there, and then straps that come down, and that gives your finger the way to jump around here. Now let me put the lights on. I turn the light off a little bit, gives a better shot. Okay, now here's this is the apical tuft. There it is right there. You see the little, that's it. And there's still one ball left in here. And there's some other ones. I think there's a couple of them still over here, but some of them are missing. See, these are gone, see? And that's the apical tuft. It sits right on the fingertip. Now, then of course the bone comes up into it, and then here's this little round pad that rocks. This is the joint capsule that you rock your bone on. Now, there would be a whole bunch of flesh around this whole thing. I mean, that's inside the flesh. So that's not really your fingertip, but out here is... Now, I have a giant one here that is much bigger even than the one I showed you that's from this. I have one that's absolutely enormous. The hand I just showed you was 4 feet wide. The fingertip I'm going to show you right now is 3 feet long. Okay, my friends, this is the fingertip I have. It's just absolutely gigantic. And again, this little apical tuft here was from the 40-inch wide hand. This one here is 3 feet long from here to here. The very tip of the end to the back is 3 feet long. This is the fingernail, still there, present. This is what they call the lunula, which is like a moon that goes over your fingertip at the bottom. It's white looking compared to the rest. And I think this is a thumb because it's so big. I'll show you in a second. This is that little pad at the bottom. Remember, it was all that tip that showed the apical tuft. This is a little pad at the bottom that rocks against the next finger, the bone. You have your artery and your vein. Now, I'm going to erase my drawings here so you can see it. But don't forget, that's your blood supplies, the fingertip, fingernail, and this pattern. You can hardly see that pattern. Somebody mentioned it the other day, and it's there, but boy, it's hard to see. All right, you can see that. Whoops! You see that discoloration coming right across here, way out there. And that's in what happens in the thumb. It's well, my thumb. I don't know. And this is the fingernail. I mean, you know what a fingernail looks like. And that's the bumper pad, like I showed you on the anatomical. And this is where the blood supply comes in. I showed you on the, that glowy yellow picture. Now, this still has fingerprints on it, and I can show you they're the same looking things that were on that meteorite. All right, remember that white looking skin? I mean, that is just what it was. This stuff is tough. Why it stayed white in that other thing, like really yellow, whitish looking. I don't know. I can't explain it. But that's what it is. It's the grip skin. And this grip skin was from that gigantic 3-foot long fingertip. That guy would be close to 200 feet tall. I cannot explain it. I'm not going to try to explain it. All I can tell you is these things were written about in history, and they are here. All right, check out how cool this is. This is that little tiny fingertip. It's about the same size as mine. This is where the apical tuft holes are. This is actually the fingernail. That's where the blood was forced out the end. When they die with their fingertips heading down, the blood blows right out of the artery side because the arteries don't have any restrictions. And if there's a lot of pressure, whoop, they'll blow right out. And that's what happened here. You see that? This is the bottom of the fingertip. This is it's still the apical tuft. You can see it on the bottom. Now this is where the blood blew out from here. Now I'll show you how it crystallizes. You see that? I think that's like an amethyst or something. Whatever. It's let me see if I can turn up the color a little bit. You know, it's some kind of a crystal, whatever it is, I don't know. But that's what happens. The bodily fluids blow out of the artery side exclusively. They don't blow out from the vein side. And this is all of this stuff down the bottom here where I'm going right now. That's just runoff of blood. It was laying like this. So here's a fingertip, fingernail at the top. That's the apical tuft. And all that stuff ran out from that because it was facing down this way. Now look at the crystallization that happens when all the blood metals congeal together in one area. You get all kinds of crystals, and you get metals. You get all the different. Like I believe there's I'm sure there's gold in there. There's gold in your body, in your blood. So when it runs down and it collects in one area, that's when you get gold buildup, and then you can actually see the gold. Let me turn this down a little bit. So the gold really reflects a lot. You get a nice reflectivity from the gold. You see, these are probably gold flakes here and there. What happens is they'll collect and they'll sort of gather together. You see all these crystals? Back up here is where you'd find it. I'm sure this is gold right in here. Some little bits and pieces here and there. And instead of running out like the plasma does, it sort of collects here and there. You see, I'm almost certain this is like little flakes of gold. If somebody wanted to really do an investigation, they could. Okay, I did everything that I was requested to do to prove my stuff, and they still won't look at it. I don't know. I'm going to try one more time with Yale, but I don't know what else to do. I feel as I am an injured party now. I presented all the evidence to present new science. New science it's fraudulent to deny validated information. That's academic fraud, to suppress it, and I've been suppressed. So at any rate, this is the DNA test that show that all three of these things. I had that big, huge fingertip tested, and it was dense DNA. I had a lung tested, which is about our size, dense DNA. I had that big 48-inch hand tested, and that was also, it wasn't as dense because it was more transition, but it was still DNA. It was all of them were human mitochondrial DNA. And here it is right there. Excellent quality DNA sequence obtained from that big, gigantic fingertip that I broke off the finger prints to get down into where the blood was. and I also, the lung was also excellent quality. They have Homo sapien, cytochrome B, and D loop. So somebody's going to have to take a look at this. I feel like, again, I feel as if I'm sort of an injured party here after 10 years or more. And here it is right here. Roger at mudfossils.com. All right, somebody get a hold of me. It's time to get this straightened out. And again, I feel as an injured party. And I've talked to, I've got 167,000 now subscribers, and some of them are lawyers, and they've told me that there's things that can be done in the legal realm. I don't want to go that route. All I want to do is present evidence. But somebody's got to look at it. At some point, what do? What do you do? They're doing ancient DNA tests. I have literally raw blood. They're taking them out of bones obtained from archaeological sites, and then they're now analyzing them to what your DNA is like. Were you from Peru or wherever you're from? I'm a little skeptical about doing this. I'm hesitant. It just doesn't feel right to me for some reason. I had mine DNA tested, and all I asked for was to prove that whether they were human or not, and that what the blood was from a creature. Whether human or not, I didn't know, and it came back that they were human. Now, what all these other things are, I have no idea. Things coming through space, they sure look like this exact same things are here on Earth. So I don't know. Are they human? I don't know.